You mentioned before about injuries as well. Obviously, that's that impacted your career. In those days, was the recovery harder, or were you expected to play through more injuries? Do you know what I mean? Because
You were expected to
yeah,
play for him. You'll have heard the stories about Shanks.
yeah,
I mean, the Saint thought it was really funny because after my ruptured knee ligaments, Shanks made me train on my own because he said it could be catching. The injury could be catching. And listen, all these years later, that sounds funny, doesn't it? But you know when it happens to you at the time, it's heartbreaking. It's not funny.
yeah.
And I mean, no, I'd had it. There used to be a lad at the club called Phil Dando, and we'd just beaten Coventry 2-0, and it was on either Monday or Tuesday morning after the Coventry game, and I'd got both goals against Coventry. And I clashed knees with Phil Dando. I spun him behind, and he was coming out, and we hit kneecaps. And it was absolute agony. And by the Thursday, I could hardly walk. And Shanks said, "Just got in the side, son. You don't want to play?" I said, "I do want to play. Boss, have to play me." And anyway, to cut a long story short, I played 3 or 4 more games, but all my muscle wasted on my leg. So I scored the winner against Huddersfield, and I said to Shanks, I'm not playing anymore if they just won't bite my knee. So they took me to Shankly Hospital and x-rayed my knee. My kneecap were broken right across the middle. And so they had to put me in a splint and everything and put it back together, and that took ages. And then when I was coming back from that, we played Everton in a reserve game. I went up for a header, and again they were playing target man because it was Mickey Lyons right behind me. And I went up and I got up early, flicked this ball on, but as I landed, Mick came out the air after me, and I landed on my knees. And as I pushed myself up with that foot, Mick's body weight landed on my heel, and it just pushed my foot, and I had a loud crack all over the ground. But even then, it took 6 weeks before they found out I'd got ruptured knee ligaments, and you're supposed to operate on them quite quickly. That's the difference. Listen, weren't just Liverpool. I talked to lads at other clubs who you were expected to play through things, and of course the medical side wasn't as good as it is. Well, nothing was as good as it is now.
Yeah.
Every sport moves on. But you can see these days when people get injured, there's 3 or 4 physios around you and people talking on thing and whipping you straight on a trolley to hospital and stuff like that.
But,
just where it was. Probably worse in 50s.
Yeah, so is that when you said that 6 weeks? Are you playing with that injury for 6 weeks?
I played 1, 2, 3, 5 games with broken kneecap.
Wow.
And in the week, I used to use a metal boot to build my muscle up because it wasted every time. But unbeknown to me, using that metal boot pulled the tip of the kneecap. You can imagine doing that with weight on, and it's broken across it. It pulled it down. Listen, it was all. I'm guessing that every ex-Liverpool player you interview will tell you the same about Shanks. He just hated injured players.
Yeah.
All he wanted to concentrate on were, I can understand it, those who were fit, those who could play in the team in the next game. And because he used to go around telling people he'd never been injured, nobody ever hurt him, he couldn't be hurt and stuff like this. Don't know whether that was ever true or not, but
maybe in his head it was. Yeah. Can you just describe what he's like? Obviously, I think everyone knows all the stories about him, but maybe one-on-one stories, or just how you took him in the time you were at Anfield.
I think there's 2 things about Shanks. Nobody's ever going to take his legacy away from him from what he did at Liverpool. Fantastic. And Bob, when Bob followed him, just amazing, really. And it depends how you took the eccentricity. If I can give you an example, the day I signed, Bob stayed at Anfield, and I only went to Shankly Hospital with my wife and Shanks, and they give me this medical. And this guy did the medical. He said, after doing the medical, he said, "You got a big, strong, fit boy there, Mr. Shankly." He said, "I'm just going to syringe his ears because he's got some wax in his ears." Well, suddenly Shanks went, wax, Jesus Christ, Bob, he's got wax in his ears. And I looked round for Bob. I thought Bob must have come in, but he hadn't. Bob was still at Anfield, but that's the sort of strange things they did. You know, you'll have all the stories about him thinking that the foreign players were. And another story, I told you about the Middlesbrough game pre-season, and that when we were going up, I said to Emlyn Hughes, and this is another change in football diet. I said to Emlyn, "What do you get for pre-match meal, Emlyn?" And he said, "Steak." Oh, I said, "I don't want steak." I said, "They used to give you steak at Sheffield Wednesday. I could never digest it." And Shank said, Emlyn said, "You'll have to have steak." So I went to Bob Pearson and I said, "Bob," Emlyn says, "it's steak pre-season, pre-match meal." And Bob says, "It is." And I said, "Can I just have toast or egg on toast?" So Bob disappeared and must have had a word with Shanks. And Shanks came over and said, "You don't like steak, son?" "Oh," I said, "I do, boss, love steak." "You don't want steak?" And I said, "No, I can't make it digest. It's heavy on my stomach, Gaffer." And he said, "It's Aberdeen Angus." And I said, "Yeah, I know it might well be, boss, but I've never found it suits me." And he said, "Look, you want the best out of me. I want the best out of me. I don't think you get it on steak." "No, you weren't having it." No, son. Everybody at Liverpool, everybody eats steak. Now, the only problem with that is that, or the good thing about it was that probably every other club were doing it as well.
Yeah.
But so these days they won't allow you near a fillet steak on a Saturday lunchtime, would they? No, they've changed that. Arsene Wenger changed everything. They changed all the diets, didn't he? And then it filtered through to. I was at a recruitment at Bramall Lane for 3 years, 2007 till 10, and of course we used to have lunch every day in our canteen at the training ground, and you never saw. It's always chicken and pasta and fish and everything else. But of course they didn't know in then days, did they?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a wrong decision. They actually didn't know.
Yeah.
They actually thought. You might have heard a story that somebody told me, I didn't know about it, that Shanks give Johnny McLaughlin steak every day to take home. The club bought him steak every day. He had to eat steak every day of his life. They wanted to build him up, and I don't know whether that's. They tell me it's a true story.
Yeah, I expect so. As you say, the eccentricities maybe of him is. Cause I've done like a lot of videos. I've got like an Instagram account where you do the videos and I like do the captions on them. And I often think what he said wasn't always the most amazing thing. Was the way in which he said it, and like he's known as being a great man motivator and stuff like that. So
he was the motivator. Yeah. Bob was the like these days when I was working for Wolves and for Sheffield United and for Sunderland, full match reports on every team, and gave those match reports to the players. And so this is the guy I'm up against. If you're a winger, this is the fullback. If you're a fullback, this is winger. How are we going to? Does he come inside? Is he an inside-out winger? Is he a basic right-footed right wing or whatever? So you know who you're playing against. We never got none of that really. It was all we are better than them. You're better than them. Go out and show them you're better than them. And we're going to do it our way. And that's how it was. I think Bob was more technical and into the game more than Shanks. But you're right, Shanks was the motivator.
And then how good was he at that? Was obviously you've been around football a lot. You've been around managers. Is he the best or?
He obviously won at best. Obviously, but you only have to look at what he achieved.
Yeah.
The second division when he came and he took him in and. Brilliant. And then Bob took it on from then, even did better, didn't he?
Yeah.
Bob did even better than Shanks in terms of trophies and European stuff and all that. And no, I mean, he was absolutely dedicated to Liverpool. That's all he thought about day and night. He used to tell you not to talk about don't talk about other sports boys. We were talking about cricket or something one day down. Don't talk about other sports boys. Only football's worth talking about. But then he'd go and tell you about Joe Lewis and Rocky Marciano and all these.
Yeah.